It was amazingly good reception. I've been to Oval Office before as well, several times under previous administrations. But I have to say that this time our relations have been elevated really to the new level. This time there was a very concrete content from it, because I came out with two messages. First, two important ones, but many others that are equally as significant. But the fact that President Obama spoke about the prospect of free trade agreement between Georgia and the United States. This is a key breakthrough and elevating this to the level of a high-level commission on the economy that would be created outright. And second, elevating our defense security cooperation, namely with focus on Georgia's self-defense. And certainly he further expressed his support for Georgia's NATO aspirations, a strong support for Georgia's territorial integrity. This is very important because there have been attempts to undermine it.
Let me ask you about those NATO aspirations. You have 1,000 forces at the moment fighting alongside the coalition in Afghanistan. You must be one of the only countries in the coalition that is planning to increase the number of your forces within Afghanistan. Is that with a view to your NATO membership in mind?
Actually, we are adding one more battalion. That's true. It's 1,700 people we'll have there, and per capita will be the second biggest contributor after the United States.
But what is Georgia's interest in fighting sending more troops to Afghanistan?
We are very close to that region. So what happens in Afghanistan, it really impacts the whole thing of Georgia. Georgia is very, culturally and is politically a very European country. Geographically, it's also at that fault area of all this geopolitical turmoil, and certainly it impacts us. On the other hand, I think it's also our partnership with the United States and NATO world that really matters, but also it's an important, upgrade of our military forces, that they are good, and these are not my words. I mean, I've spoken to a number of commanders from the U.S. that are commanding them, that they are all highly complimentary about Georgian troops. We've suffered casualties, dozens of people injured, quite some killed, but
I'm sure the forces are good, but you can see that it's a fairly peculiar position for Georgia to be in at a time when other countries are pulling out, like France, precipitously from Afghanistan. You're one of the only countries, if not the only country, going in greater numbers.
Well, because we have our acute security concerns ourselves. Maybe we understand it more clearly than many others for all the natural, but also, as I said, geographic reasons. We are close to that area, so we have stake in what happens there.
Let's talk about your own acute security concerns, because I think most Americans, for example, when they think about Georgia today, the one thing they will think about is the war that you had with Russia back in 2008. We now have Russia's politics again in the spotlight. It looks like Mr. Putin will be Russia's next president. How does that make Georgians feel?
Well, indeed, 20% of our territory still occupies under Russian military occupation. That's how this word is called by the U.S. administration, as well as the European Parliament and the European states and many other countries in the world. We have 500,000 people expelled that cannot go back to this area. So place basically is emptied of population. It has very little of whatever pre-war population exists there. These are all very strong burdens on us. But I think what is important now, what really has changed with all the Russian threats, because we've been seeing quite some, menaces from Moscow. Indeed, there was a Russian military drill which basically focused on some further aggressive steps toward Georgia that they've just organized. But
so presumably, a next President Putin would make you feel more nervous, not less nervous.
Yes, but what I think also has changed, and after the war, and that's a big, huge difference. Georgia has had strong economic rebound in comparative terms with the region, and very often, even Russian opposition figures, not only, and also lots of figures around the region, cite Georgia as an example for not only democratic transformation, but also for economic reforms, fighting corruption, fighting crime. And President Obama indeed said today, Georgia is a model for the region. Quite a compliment from the US president. So even he noticed it, he took notice of that.